Hello, good afternoon, good morning, good evening, wherever you're at on this planet. Welcome to another episode of the Alter Your Health podcast, your source of information and inspiration to promote the holistic transformation of your health and the health of our planet. I am Dr. Benjamin Alter, your host.
And I'm your co-host, Dr. Susanna Alter.
And we're going to dive in today to something different. We usually talk all about chronic health conditions and optimizing, overall health and well-being on kind of a broad, holistic sense. And today is maybe a little bit different in the sense that I wanted to maybe shift the conversation a little bit to acute injuries, and maybe we'll even talk about other ailments that can come on in an acute fashion. And let's face it, we can prevent a lot of things from happening with healthy living, healthy diet, healthy thoughts, and all of those things. We know that. But the inevitable will inevitably happen. We will get sick. We will fall down and get a boo-boo and hurt ourselves. And with a strong foundation of health, yes, we will be more resilient. We will heal more quickly. And that being said, Dr. Suzanne and I talk about the hierarchy of healing and how at the foundation is really where our strength and resilience of health lies. But with a strong foundation, we can still apply other interventions mindfully to supercharge our healing potential. So that's what this conversation is going to be all about: supercharging the self-healing potential that you have physically.
Exactly. And we both were able to witness this supercharging of healing recently with Ben's recent injury.
Yeah, well, there's been a few of them. I feel like it's funny because growing up as a little boy, I would injure myself all the time. I was just too active, like a monkey swinging around all the time, and skateboarding and bike riding and crashing and baseball. And I was prone to injuries, I think, because I put myself in those situations. But I guess I have had a period of years of being injury free and not being so extreme. And just in the last 6 months or so, hey Winnie, just in the last 6 months or so, I feel like I'm revamping my extremeness in some ways physically. And it's like, I need to remember that I'm not 7 years old anymore. And I guess that being said, my body still has the healing capacity as it did when it was 7 years old. But I guess, I need to be a little bit more, a little smarter, a little bit more mindful of how I throw my body around, specifically on a bike.
The first thing Ben said when he came home after he threw himself off the bike was, okay, I think I finally learned my lesson.
Yeah, because I've only been back on a mountain bike for this season for the last 3 or 4 months, and I've taken probably 3 or 4 somewhat significant wipeouts. And not like significant, just coming off my bike. Ideally when you're riding a bike, you want to keep your butt on the seat and keep the tires on the dirt and that sort of thing. And I have come off the bike. The tires have come off the dirt a few times, and I intend to keep the tires on the dirt. But in any case, each time it has happened, I'm like, oh gosh, I got to take it easy. And finally, in the 10 days ago, I guess, when I did come off the bike in a way that sent me landing on my hand, it did just kind of wake me up and shake me in a way. Similarly to, if any of you have heard the story that I've shared on the podcast and in a few different podcasts that I've been a guest on, sharing the story of how I broke my hand about 10 years ago and how that shook me up in a way. So anyways, I was shaken up about 10 days ago with this acute injury of my hand. I thought I had broken my bone, went to the emergency room actually and got x-rays, and luckily, I guess, whatever, my bone wasn't broken. I thought it was the same bone that I had broken 10 years ago, the trapezium in the wrist. But in any case, not broken, but still really painful, you guys, like really bad for a day.
Yeah, and on top of that, you also had several abrasions throughout your arms, and those are healing up very nicely. But you know, he looked pretty torn up when I saw him. Actually, there's you know, lots of as well, we call them abrasions, but really it's like he's skinned his whole arm basically.
Yeah.
So let's talk about how to super boost your healing during these acute injuries, because I have witnessed Ben a few years ago, you know, he's kind of always tearing his skin up.
Yeah, even when I wasn't extreme on the mountain bike, I still, you know,
he's just prone to, you know, getting all gnarled up. And one of his, you know, he didn't complain too much about health things, but one thing that he observed about his own health was that he considered himself a slow wound healer. It just took him a while to really, you know, get through that scab phase into normal healthy skin again.
Yes, it's true. I feel like I've always been kind of a, you know, slow healer, and holy cow, in the last 10 days I have witnessed that nope, I am no longer a slow healer, and I think it's I know what I'm doing. And
yeah, so what's different now? Let's talk about what things you think are different that have turned you into a fast wound healer, and, you know, maybe helpful for our listeners out there when they're considering how to take care of themselves during acute injuries.
For sure. So first of all, strong foundation. We know that food, air, water, thoughts, relationships, movement, and being connected with your purpose and having that strong foundation of health, of course, super important. But yeah, when I've also increased a few specific nutrients in my diet, I've been much more mindful of the vitamin C that I am getting in my diet. I'm getting vitamin C through a few different sources, of course, whole foods, you know, all the fruits and vegetables, but also some powders of camu berry, acerola cherry, and amla powder, which are 3 kind of superfoods, if you will, that are specifically high in vitamin C content. And vitamin C, as we've talked about a couple weeks back, is the essential nutrient responsible for collagen synthesis in your body. And when when the intention is healing a wound, the intention is creating new collagen. And as well as, you know, you want your immune system active, you want blood flow going where it needs to.
Yeah. When we increase vitamin C, we also are able to increase the amount of white blood cells that go to the area that is needing the healing. And that's a crucial part for the healing process.
So I think that vitamin C is definitely a big part of it. And also, you know, I've shared a little bit, periods of my life have been kind of chronically, you know, low grade malnourished, caloric deficiency. And I've been eating more calories. And, you know, specifically, it was so interesting. After the acute injury, I felt so hungry, even though in the couple days that after I, you know, wiped out on my bike, I wasn't on my bike, I wasn't exercising, I wasn't really able to, I was giving my body a physical rest. I wasn't burning as many calories, but I still had such a increase of appetite. And I knew that was because my body needed the fuel to heal physically. And I think that it's important to provide the body the proper fuel that it needs to heal physically. Obviously, my increased appetite wasn't driving me to get a pizza and burgers and fries. My increased appetite was driving me to, you know, have maybe a couple extra potatoes or a few extra bananas throughout the day, or a bowl of oatmeal, or, you know, something whole food, some whole foods.
Yeah, exactly. And we see that when people have a healthy diet that's filled with lots of fresh fruits and vegetables, clean sources of carbohydrates, fat, and protein, when those people do get injured, they recover significantly faster than those who eat a poor diet. And that's because they already have a good reserve of the nutrients that we need for a proper, acute inflammatory response to bring the immune system to the area that really needs that healing. And so, I mean, you probably did go through your vitamin C stores a little bit more. You went through your mineral stores a little bit more. And that's because that's what was needed in that time. So
Yeah, that's a good point. They were there and ready to be mobilized and put to use. And then my body was craving more to replenish the storage sources of all these vitamins, minerals, nutrients, and also macronutrients that just fuel the process.
Yeah, so then we can see it makes sense that people with a poor nutritional status would not be as good at healing wounds and broken bones and things like that. And so those populations that we think about that need a little bit more nutritional support are our geriatric population. Alcoholics tend to have a lot of nutritional deficiencies. Anyone with diabetics, anyone with chronic GI disease, so they're not able to absorb their nutrients as much. These are some examples of people that may need to be a little bit more mindful about replenishing these nutrient and mineral stores.
Can we talk about the other ingredient of superhuman healing potential?
Yeah.
The other thing that we learn as naturopathic doctors to promote the self-healing mechanism of the body is hydrotherapy. And we've talked about this in a few different episodes as well. And really, what hydrotherapy does, and some of you probably know this, is that it promotes blood flow specifically to certain areas of your body, depending on where you're applying your hydrotherapy. And why this is referred to as stimulating your self-healing potential of your body is because blood is your healing. Where your blood flows, energy goes, and where energy goes, healing happens. Where the blood flows, you also have the oxygen, the nutrients, the building blocks that are required to recreate and replenish everything that is we need in that acute healing phase, acute healing response. So blood flow is essential. And we can control blood flow to some degree. Obviously, it's an autonomic function. We've got capillaries and blood vessels in every corner of our body. I think I remember learning that there are, every cell is only 2 or 3 cells away from a source of blood flow. So if you think about the trillions of cells in your body, every one of those cells is on the bank of a blood vessel. If you think about like a riverbank, it's all beachfront property when it comes to your blood cells. And the reason why that's important is because they need to be on the bank of that river to get the nutrients from the stream. So they're on the river accessing all of those nutrients. So applying cold, wet applications specifically, a lot of people think about an ice pack, oh, you fell down, here's a bag of ice. And ice is really great for constricting blood vessels and numbing your body. And that can be helpful in an acute thing if you're in extreme pain and your priority is, diminishing your pain levels, then an ice pack can be helpful. But we have to understand that the ice pack is constricting the blood vessels and the capillaries at that local site. And really what we want to promote healing is the perfusion and the dilation of those blood vessels. So we put a cold, wet, damp, not ice cold, just wet. And when we apply the cold, wet, that initially causes a little bit of constriction of your superficial blood vessels, but then we cover that with a warm application of whether it's a warm sock on your foot, or what I was doing, I was putting sock on my hand that was wet and covering it with a wool sock. And that essentially, that cold, wet sock over time draws the blood to that area because your body is warming up the hand. And then as that happens, we warm up and dry out that sock, and then we replace the sock with another application of cold, wet water. Wet water. Yeah.
Cold, wet water.
Cold, wet water. The only way we like our water is cold and wet.
Yeah, and it's amazing. I mean, Ben would pass me the sock afterwards, after his treatment, and it felt like it had been like
in the microwave.
In the microwave, yeah, it was toasty warm, and so
yeah, you can do the cold, wet application anywhere on your body. But you want the body part to be warm initially. You don't want to put cold and wet on something that is already cold. Otherwise, you won't have that, vital energy to warm up the area of your body. So, for example,
if you have cold hands like I do, then you may want to
wash your hands first with warm
water, or you can even soak them in a little hand bath for 5 minutes or so.
Yeah. So you can replace that cold, wet towel on your acutely injured body part as often as you can. And that's exactly what I did for about 2 or 3 days straight. And then and then it started feeling so good that I was like forgetting to, and I was working again and typing and doing things and
riding my bike.
Don't tell my doctor. But anyways, yeah, I mean, you can honestly, I amazed myself, you guys. I didn't know. I thought for sure I would be out of commission for at least a couple of weeks, and it was really literally just a couple of days.
Mm-hmm. You look so sad. You were
so bummed out. Well, initially, and this is the other thing that I would like to talk about a little bit, you guys, is that initially I was heartbroken. I was like beating myself up. What the hell did you do? Why did you do this? Why are you so reckless? Why haven't you learned your lesson? So much self-criticism, so much, negative self-talk. And then it struck me about after a good hour or two of that, at least, it struck me, wait a second, these thoughts are constricting blood vessels too. These thoughts are dampening my immune response too. These thoughts are not promoting the health and regeneration that I need, especially when it comes to a deep bone contusion. We need all of the vitality and the focused healing energy that we can get, and the negative self-talk just simply does not bring us there. So I had that kind of epiphany, and that's not to say that from that moment forward, I never experienced any negative self-talk or negative judgments or things like that. But I was just more mindful and aware of where my state of mind was, and if my state of mind was on my side or not on my side when it comes to, my intention of healing. Mm-hmm. So I think that, when I broke my hand 10 years ago, I was much more self-criticizing for a much longer period of time. And I think that might have to do with why it took me months for that injury to heal compared to days for this current injury. I had a stronger connection with where my state of mind was. And I think that's really important, you guys.
Yeah. I was so proud of him. Gosh. But so what we've talked about so far is, and this is how we always like to approach any kind of physical issue. We start on the bottom baseline foundational levels of nutrition, thoughts, as Ben was saying, and, just taking good care of your health in general.
All the things that are free.
The next level up is to stimulate the vital force, to stimulate your body's innate ability to heal itself. And that's what Ben did with hydrotherapy. The other thing we did, which we can just talk about so briefly, is we gave Ben a homeopathic remedy.
Oh, yeah.
We won't say which one because we can't just, blurt out certain remedies for certain
That's not how
ailments.
It's not like, oh, you hurt your hand, you get this remedy.
Mm-hmm.
Oh, you stubbed your toe, you get this remedy.
We gave him a remedy specific to his symptoms and his presentation. And what homeopathy does is it also stimulates your body's vital force. So how we like to describe it is that it really kind of guides your immune system to where it needs to act within your body. It's an energetic form of medicine, and it's really powerful.
And homeopathy also, in my experience, personally and professionally, acts in a multi-dimensional sort of way. So I'm sure that the homeopathic remedy also supported me in establishing peace of mind around, the negative self-talk and the judgments that were always streaming in.
Mm-hmm.
So homeopathy supports your physical immune response, supports blood flow and circulation and that vital force, which is also manifested and translated into peace of mind and, a healthy emotional state, and just kind of a healthy perspective through which we can see the healing journey.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, and so then the next level up from stimulating the vital force is to nourish weakened systems. And this is usually with more targeted nutritional therapy or with herbs. And you didn't even need to do that much of that.
Well, I did do the vitamin C specific herbs, I guess you could say, for foods.
So you increased your vitamin C.
But I didn't take collagen.
Didn't take collagen.
I mean, after you guys at this point hopefully know why I didn't take collagen. And if you don't know why I didn't take collagen, you can go back a few weeks and listen to that one. And Winnie's going to tell you to do the same.
Yeah, Winnie's going to come sing to you. But the other things, there is a long list of certain... Winnie, we hear you. There's a long list of specific nutrients, supplements that you can take to really, nourish those weakened systems. So, and it depends on whether it's a wound you're trying to heal, or a tendon or a ligament that you're trying to heal, or a bone you're trying to heal. There are very specific different kind of nutritional protocols that you could follow. And I probably would do so, if you had broken your bone, then we'd probably do more focused mineral replacement, for example. But
yeah, and kind of all the same things, just
there's like glucosamine and chondroitin.
Oh, I wouldn't have taken that. No, I wouldn't have taken that.
Okay, we won't even go into all of that then.
You guys, no, come on.
Because really it is these first two layers of healing that are the most important.
Yeah. So that's about all we've got for you this week, you guys. Unless you have any other thoughts or questions, Susanna, or
No, I don't think so.
So anyways, I'm happy to report that thumbs up. I do have, for those of you watching, I do have a little contusion, a little bruise on my thumb and a wound on my palm, but and also on this side of things, I've got, this was like all raw for watchers out there. My arm was raw.
It looked like he was a burn victim.
Yeah, all
down his arm.
Oops, I'm sorry. All up and down, like my bicep and even on my shoulder. And anyways, it's like it's granulating very nicely for the wounds, the healing terminology. But in any case, that's about all we've got for you this week. If this...
Oh.
Yeah?
Well, you also took care of your wounds with some silver.
I used silver topically. I do think that really helped. I do.
Rather than using some kind of triple antibiotic ointment.
Right. I used silver, which is a natural antimicrobial product topically. I used silver cream, silver gel stuff that I got from Dr. Pedersen, who was a podcast guest couple months ago now, and I do think that helps. I'm never one to promote or advocate using topical antimicrobial stuff, but that being said, we want to avoid infections, so we want to make sure that we we're keeping things clean and all that sort of good stuff. But really, the infection, this is a whole nother conversation, you guys, but avoiding infections really means, being mindful of supporting a really healthy and vibrant terrain. It doesn't mean like antibiotic killing organisms. And silver is very gentle and precise in how it maintains a healthy microbial environment.
Yeah, and I actually want to speak just a bit more about that triple antibiotic ointment that many of us use, because I think this was an exception for me with wound care. Typically I would always recommend natural is better, but I'd say there's really nothing that bad about using some antibiotic ointment to try to prevent infection.
Especially, if you don't mind super bugs and, that sort of thing. Yeah, use all the antibiotics you want.
But I want to say what's also happening is that there is an epidemic of an increase in allergic reactions to specifically the neomycin that is in this triple antibiotic ointment.
Right, that's the wisdom of the body saying, hey, enough is enough, human beings.
Yeah, and so if you're trying to heal a wound, adding on some contact dermatitis is really not going to help the overall healing process. Yeah. So it's just something to be, to consider, because I know for me, like I didn't even know why my wound was getting worse, and then all of a sudden it occurred.
Yeah. So don't dive into your Neosporin and antibiotic topical stuff. You guys, be really mindful. It's, even though it's sold over the counter in these big giant tubes and you can slather it on your whole body, it's medicine that it's a drug that is being abused. Yeah.
Okay. So.
All right. So if you guys want any more information about this, you can head to www.alter.health. Here we are, episode number 111. And a quick plug, you guys, new listeners, old or new, if you haven't subscribed, rated, or reviewed this podcast wherever you're listening, we'd be grateful if you did that. And you can also learn more about our offerings at www.alter.health, specifically our healing community, which is growing and strengthening, and we're excited about it.
And take advantage of our 2-week free trial of this online healing community.
Yeah, and if you're like, healing community, what the heck does that even mean? Just go to alter.health/healing-community and you'll find out what it means. So thank you for tuning in. We're sending you healthy vibes, peace, love, and until next time.
Bye-bye for now.